Tonight on Four-Star Playhouse, Singer presents Lupino in The Adolescent.
Seems like a rather serious charge, Philip. Sorry you have to make your explanation to me. Being my nephew makes it a little difficult all around.
I know.
Also, I'm on the disciplinary board, and there are rules and regulations I have to follow. Now, this report says that you were off bounds without permission during study period. There's a note added, suspicion of drinking. Were you drunk, Philip?
Well, the football game and our winning, it was...
Philip, were you drunk?
It was just a couple of beers. I know I should have been in my room, not off the campus, Aunt Celia. I mean, Miss Coberly.
Well, that's all right. I don't think we have to be that formal.
No, Aunt Celia.
Now, that's really all there was to it. Just a couple of beers in celebration of the team winning.
Yes, that's all.
Well, then, perhaps it isn't as serious after all. If it's as you say, I'll recommend restriction of weekend liberties until after Thanksgiving.
You mean you're not going to take my word for it? You're going to investigate?
Philip, your word isn't the only point at issue. It's the matter of someone selling liquor to a minor. You know, this is the fourth report we've had in 3 weeks of bars selling liquor to minors from the school. We've got to stop it. You can help us.
Why won't you believe me? Why won't you leave it the way it is?
It's the normal procedure to check a thing like this. Philip, have you told me the truth? You seem afraid of something.
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Oh, I think I know what it is. You're scared of what your father will say about this, I think it could be explained to him so that he'll understand.
He wouldn't.
I think he will.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't even try to understand.
Now, look, I know him pretty well. He's difficult, there's no doubt about it. He isn't as bad as all that.
Why don't you leave this alone? I'll take my punishment, whatever you say, but just leave this alone like it is.
Believe me, I'd like to leave it strictly alone. But I haven't any choice. This is my job. All right, that's all.
Hello?
Albert, this is Celia.
Oh, yes, Celia.
I want to talk to you about this Philip Weir case. You turned in the report. Look, do you think somebody else on the board could handle it?
Well, that's impossible, Celia. You know Mr. McCready's attitude. No personal elements can interfere and so on.
Yes, I know, but this is so difficult. After all, he's my own nephew.
But, Celia, McCready wouldn't stop at investigating his own son if he thought it was his duty.
No, I suppose not. Well, all right. Can you tell me the name of the bar Philip was in? Excuse me.
What'll it be, lady?
I'd like to speak to the owner, please.
Yeah, well, what is it?
Well, I'm inquiring about one of our students.
Oh, lady, you must have the wrong place. We don't serve students here. They're underage. In fact, when I spot them, I tell them to take their business elsewhere.
I see. Well, I hear this place has had trouble before serving liquor to boys underage.
Look, what do you want?
Well, this boy I'm inquiring about apparently had quite a few beers in this place a couple of nights ago.
What was his name?
Philip Weir. Do you know him?
Look, lady, we all make mistakes. And sometimes I ain't so good at spotting which is the students or which ain't, believe me.
Do you know him?
Philip Weir, you say, is he about 5'9"? He's got blue eyes and brown hair?
That's right.
Yeah, well, I didn't know he was a student.
But you served him beer.
Yeah, I did, usually.
Usually?
Well, he comes in here with his girlfriend, and they nurse a bottle of beer all evening, or as long as they'd stay anyway. They don't bother anybody. They just sit at that corner table over there in the corner.
But you said usually.
Well, the other night he comes in here alone, and I asked him what happened to your girlfriend. He said they had a row. So he proceeded to belt away at 5 straight shots of rye. I guess he had a good reason, lady. But believe me, I didn't know he was a student.
Do you know who this girl is?
Yeah, Lisa Collins. She lives down at the end of State Street in one of those old apartment buildings down there, you know.
Lisa Collins. And they'd always come together?
Well, they did until the other night.
I see. Well, thank you.
That's all right.
Yes? Excuse me, does Lisa Collins live here?
Yes, but she's not here now.
Oh. Well, when can I see her?
She's out of town. Why? Who are you? What do you want Lisa for?
I'm Miss Coberly. I'm from the school.
What do you want with Lisa?
I wanted to talk to her about one of our students, Philip Weir.
Why doesn't he leave her alone? Why don't you all leave her alone?
Please, Mrs. Collins, may I come in and talk to you?
What for? To see how the other half lives?
If there's anything wrong, maybe I can help.
What's happened is our business.
Please. Philip,
I'm in a hurry.
wait a minute. I want to talk to you.
I'm sorry I can't see you now. I'm in between
Yes,
classes.
I know that. What's your next period?
Math.
Well, you can't be in that much of a hurry. It's only across the hall.
You had to do it, I suppose. You couldn't let well enough alone. Why did you have to see your mother?
Will you please tell me what's been going on between you and Lisa Collins?
Nothing.
Well, then why was Mrs. Collins so upset when I tried to see her?
I tell you, it's nothing. You're thinking things that aren't true.
What am I to think when you go on lying and refusing to help?
Why can't you do what you said yesterday? Keep me on campus over weekends. You don't have to investigate anymore. Nobody will say anything. Nobody will know.
I'll know.
Why don't you forget about it?
You know the rules. I haven't any choice. Tell me the truth and stop this before it gets out of hand.
I've never asked you for anything before. Never once.
Don't you think I want to protect you? If you haven't done anything wrong, why be afraid?
Forget about it, Aunt Celia. Forget about it.
So all you did, Philip, was go out, have a couple of beers, right? No more to it than that?
Sure.
Well, give me a straight yes or no.
Yes.
All right, then. You've got nothing to worry about. Have you?
No, I guess not.
Your old man understands a fellow has to have a little fun once in a while. Just be careful, that's all. Don't do anything to upset our plans. You know what they are. We've talked about them, son.
Graduate, go through college, join the firm.
That's our program. And, son, I'm going to see you through no matter what happens. That's one thing you can count on.
Yes, Father.
Ever since you were a real small boy, I've always seen to it that you've had the best. Good schools, good friends, good training. Sometimes your mother and I used to argue about it. She'd say we ought to let you follow your natural bent more, but I'd say, no, Mother. With all the advantages I can give him, that boy's going to amount to something real big someday. But, son, you got to learn to take advantage of those advantages, so to speak. You get what I'm saying?
I get it.
Because if you don't, if you throw away the things I've given you, it's going to mean trouble between us.
You don't have to worry, Father.
I know I don't, son. Well, it's about time for me to get over and see your aunt.
She's been taking all this pretty seriously.
Think nothing of it, son. I know how to handle your Aunt Celia.
Well, hello, Steve.
Celia, by gosh, if you aren't prettier than ever.
How are you?
Fine.
This is an unexpected visit. What brings you up here tonight?
Oh, I had some business to talk over with McCready. And incidentally, I talked to Philip. He told me something about a little escapade.
Here, let me take this for you.
Oh, thank you. Celia, where are you going for the Christmas holidays this year?
I really don't know.
I'm making up a party. You know, our winter place. I'm having some bright young men down for the holidays. Wouldn't do you any harm to meet them. It's about time you settled down, Seal, an attractive woman like you. I'm going to see to it that you meet some eligible men.
Thank you, Steve. It's very thoughtful of you. But I'm still going on with this investigation. I have to find out what Philip has really done.
He's already told me.
He did?
It was just exuberance, a few harmless beers.
In celebration of the team winning the game.
That's right.
Is that all he told you?
Yes, I'm sure there's nothing to it.
Wish I could believe that, Steve. Because I'd drop this whole thing here and now.
What do you mean, Celia? What are you hinting at?
Nothing.
Well, then drop it, Celia. You like it here at Ansom's, don't you?
Yes, of course I do. Why?
I have quite a bit of influence here. I could help to make things very pleasant for you, or...
Otherwise? Yes, I'm sure you could, Steve, if you chose to throw your weight around.
I'm going to protect my boy. It's pretty rough to think he has to be protected against his mother's sister.
Have you ever heard of overprotection?
You use words like a teacher. But they don't mean anything to me. I deal in real things. My boy is real. And I'm going to protect him no matter what he's done, even if it means your job here. I'm not going to let you ruin his future.
Maybe what you're doing will ruin his future.
The board meeting's Friday afternoon. I'll be here for it. I don't want my boy persecuted. Well, Celia?
Good night, Steve.
Hello, Celia.
Well, good morning, Albert.
I was wondering what the developments were with young Ware.
Oh, the plot thickens.
Oh,
Yes, I received a communique from the superintendent's office.
McCready, about Philip?
Quote, please drop in at your earliest convenience, unquote.
I wonder why he's taking a hand.
Albert, do you believe in signs?
Sure.
Well, I think I see the writing on the wall, and it says, give up, Celia. Forget this whole thing. You've done your duty. You've tried.
I think you have, too, Seal.
Well, nobody seems to want me to find out the truth. Not the girl or her mother, or Philip or his father. They just seem to want me to give up this investigation.
Perhaps you're taking this whole thing too seriously, huh?
Well, it's important enough for Stephen Ware to take a hand in it. And he's a big man, used to dealing in big things, Albert. When he gives up with a threat or a bribe, believe me, it's a big one.
A bribe?
Yes, he's invited me to his Florida home for Christmas. And for a Christmas present, he's going to wrap up half a dozen eligible bachelors, stand them under the tree, so that all I have to do is clap my hands and pick the one I want.
Now, why should you think he's offering you a bribe? You could have any man you wanted.
Thanks, Albert.
You said a bribe and a threat. What kind of threat?
Well, what do you think this summons to McCready's office means?
Oh, well, perhaps it's something different. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with Philip at all.
Mm-hmm. You want to bet, Albert?
Celia, I was reminded this morning of the case about young Weir.
You mean when his father paid you a visit?
He suggested that inasmuch as you're Philip's aunt, some other member of the disciplinary board be assigned to the case.
Well, I wanted that, Mr. McCready, when the case first started.
The suggestion was made that you're leaning backwards in the performance of your duties, that there are middle courses and middle events. Things aren't at one extreme or the other.
That depends on your point of view, Mr. McCready.
There could be extenuating circumstances.
Possibly. But there's a girl involved.
Mr. Weir said nothing about a girl.
No, I don't imagine Philip told him about that.
Well, have you seen her? Have you talked to her?
Not yet.
You've tried.
Yes, on several occasions.
What about her family?
Well, her mother seems content to leave things the way they are.
Well, then.
Mr. McCready, would you like me to forget about this whole thing?
A person can only listen to his conscience, Celia. Incidentally, this could put us into a somewhat embarrassing position in regard to the new economics building Mr. Weir has promised the school.
Yes, I almost forgot about the new building. All I'd have to do to get it for us would be to whitewash Philip. Is that what you'd like me to do, Mr. McCready? Of course, there's another way to solve the problem, and that's to do as Stephen Weir suggests. Take me off the disciplinary board.
Yes, that would solve the problem for you, too, Celia, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Mm-hmm. You must realize that Mr. Weir's endowment is very tempting to the Board of Trustees. But you know my policy in these matters. I'm going to leave the matter up to you. You have until the board meeting tomorrow to make up your mind what to do. I'll see you then, Miss Coverley.
Don't you know when you're not wanted?
Mrs. Collins, please, tell me, why was Philip here?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Look, I only want to know one thing. If you're preventing me from seeing Lisa, you must have a reason. Now, what is it?
Her reason is good enough for me. I love my daughter. I've nothing to tell you.
Mrs. Collins, there's a meeting at the school tomorrow. Now, I have to tell them whether I'm going on with this or if I'm going to stop.
That's fine. That's the answer. Stop.
Lisa? You are Lisa Collins, aren't you? Lisa, please, may I talk to you? Will you let me?
Now, gentlemen, and Miss Coberly, this bi-weekly board meeting has assumed extraordinary importance. I'm going to bypass the usual order of business in favor of getting to Miss Coberly's report. Miss Coberly.
I can understand Mr. McCready's impatience, because on what I'm going to say hinges, among other things, the donation of a beautiful new building to this school. As superintendent of Anson's and chairman of the board of directors, this is a particularly gratifying offer to Mr. McCready, and naturally he's eager to see that it goes through. I can also understand Mr. Stephen Weir offering the building, because he expects to get value received for his generosity. Well, now to get to the case of young Philip Weir. He was reported off bounds without permission and suspicion of drinking. So now we're concerned with my report and the measures I feel we should take. Now, I've investigated this case to the best of my ability, and I have the following recommendations to make. I feel that too much importance has been attached to this matter, and that punishment for the rule infraction should consist of restriction to campus until after Thanksgiving.
Gentlemen, this meeting is concluded.
They're changing the bill at the Rialto this evening. Would you like to go?
Thanks, Albert. I'd love to.
I deserved it, Celia, the tongue lashing.
Sorry, Mr. McCready.
Your decision doesn't lessen my admiration for you. That building is important.
Well, that wasn't the reason I dismissed the case.
It wasn't?
No.
I don't believe you're intimidated, Celia.
No, thank you, I wasn't.
Then I don't want to hear any more.
I wasn't going to say anything more, Mr. McCready.
All right, Philip, I'll see you at dinner. I'll send you your plane reservations as soon as I get back to the city, Seal.
Don't bother.
No bother. I pay my debts.
Look, Steve, you don't owe me anything. You had nothing to do with my decision to end this investigation.
Oh? Then what did?
Finding out what Philip was keeping from us. And the fear that made him conceal it.
Fear? You mean of his own aunt because she was stirring up trouble for him?
No, Steve. Although I'm certainly not blameless. What was behind all this was his terrible fear of you.
Oh, I don't believe my son's afraid of me. I've done too much for him. You're making me sound like a monster, Celia.
I know you're really not. But you need a lot more understanding and tolerance with Philip than you've ever shown him.
I have a good relationship with my son.
Have you, Steve? Does he ever come and talk things over with you openly and freely, knowing he can count on your sympathy?
Certainly we talk things over.
He didn't come to you this time when he had a problem.
What was this problem?
I think that's something Philip should tell you. And look, remember what I said, Steve, will you? And have a happy Christmas. Hello, Philip.
You know, don't you, Aunt Celia?
Yes, I do. Come on, let's go to my place, shall we? Sit down and make yourself comfortable. Oh, I'm thirsty after all that. How about some ginger ale, hmm?
I owe you an awful lot, Aunt Celia. The way you stood up to everyone at the meeting. And the way you handled my father.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. But just why do you think I did it, hmm?
Well, to keep the secret about Lisa and me being married.
Yes, well, that was partly the reason. But you know something, Philip? When you married Lisa, you took on certain responsibilities. Now, what do you do when you have them?
I suppose you shoulder them.
That's right. Nobody can do it for you, so from now on in, it's up to you. Do you have any plans?
It's a funny thing. I'm not afraid anymore. Of anything.
Well, that's because it's all out in the open now, between us. But what about your father?
That's what I mean. I'm not afraid of him now. If I get kicked out for being married, well, then I get kicked out.
Oh, I don't think there's any danger of that, Philip. But after all, what is it he really wants for you?
To graduate and go to college.
Do you want that, too?
Yes.
Lisa, does she agree?
I know she does.
Well, then... Oh, excuse me. I think we have a visitor, and she's right on time.
Hello. Philip!
Oh, Lisa, I was so afraid I wasn't going to see you again.
Darling, it was such a mistake, that silly row.
Forgive me, Lisa. I acted like such a fool.
It was just that when you wouldn't tell anybody we were married, I was afraid you were
forgive
ashamed of me.
Forgive me.
I don't have to, Philip. Your aunt explained to me about your father and you being scared.
I love all this, but I have a date.
Well, we have too. We're going to meet my father. Come on.
So sorry.
Goodbye, Aunt Celia.
Bye.
Mr. Woods.
Bye.
Bye, dear.
Now, what was it all about?
Oh, such a simple little thing, Albert. It's a matter of a boy and girl falling in love, that's all. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Four-Star Playhouse and all the members of the Singer Organization, we want to thank you for being with us tonight. We do hope you enjoyed our play and that you'll be with us again next week. Good night.